Hey everyone, for TRICHOMES.com, I'm Ashley Manning, and this is Careers in Cannabis. On this show, we sit down with staffing agencies, cannabis companies, and other industry professionals to discuss employment opportunities in the burgeoning cannabis industry. As we approach the end of Women's History Month, it's important to understand we've come a long way, but there is still a lot of work to be done. And statistically, women represent a third of cannabis executives. But if we go a bit deeper, how many of that third are actually women minority executives? Today's guest is a huge inspiration to all female business owners. Over 75% of her workforce are women of color. She brings 3 generations of agricultural knowledge. She has a bachelor's degree in business and several years of experience in sales and marketing for traditional ag. And funny enough, her company is located a few hours south of Sonoma, California, where the Women's History Month movement actually began in 1978. On this episode, we talked to Michelle Hackett, the president of the vertically integrated Riverview Farms, the largest female minority-owned and operated cannabis company in the world. Hey, Michelle, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
It's good to have you here. I know that you are the president of Riverview Farms, which is the largest female minority-owned cannabis company in the world. Very exciting.
Thank you.
To have you here today. I can't help but notice before I do my interviews, I'm always, checking out who my guest is going to be. And the first thing that came to my mind is you are incredibly young in coming out on top of you're in the industry at the top here. And so I would love to just begin this interview with what you were doing right before you had a career in cannabis.
Okay, well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. It means my skincare must be working. So prior to joining the cannabis industry and becoming part of the Riverview Farms team, I was actually in agriculture. So we're located in Monterey County here in the Salinas Valley. So prior, I was in the sales department and a local agricultural grower, shipper, processor. So I was selling everything from chopped romaine to spinach to arugula, broccoli florets. So I was selling that into Cisco, which is, the broadline distributor across the U.S. So I was on the sales desk at a grower, shipper, processor.
Wow. So selling other plants, just not cannabis.
Yes. Selling commodities is my jam. I feel like I can sell ice to an Eskimo. So I definitely have a passion for sales. And, when I was, the local company was Church Brothers. It was a family owned and operated company. My boss, Jeff, really mentored me, took me under my wing pretty fresh out of college, and just kind of showed me what it was to be, not just on the sales desk, but, it was their largest account at the time. So I learned really quickly what it is to be, in customer relations and troubleshoot and deal with sales and commodity management. So that's where I started.
Wow. And so how did that transition to cannabis, something that's federally illegal? You went from plants to this plant that is also a plant, but it's illegal federally.
Yes. Still federally illegal, but legal in the state of California. So, I was at the time, like I said, working in sales. I had been with Church Brothers about 4 or 5 years. And my parents, have always invested in commercial real estate my whole life. Anytime they've had the opportunity to invest, they have. So my family actually owned some commercial real estate that happened to be in the correct zone for cannabis cultivation. And my dad originally said that he was going to request an exemption to grow medical cannabis in 2016. And when he started that venture, he invited me to lunch one day at a local restaurant, just the two of us. Here, I thought we were going to have some burgers and mimosas. And before you know it, he was asking if I was interested in potentially leaving, my job at Church Brothers. That's my sister,
Hey,
Lauren,
sister.
Our retail sales manager. And from there, he just said, come on this adventure with me. Let's start a business together from the ground up. And I was nervous, absolutely, to leave the comfort and security of, what I was establishing as a very fruitful career in agriculture And I just decided, you know what, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. My dad's always been an entrepreneur. He's had several businesses and he's been very successful. And I thought, what an incredible way to learn from, not just my dad, but, someone that I've always looked up to very much in business, and to create something from the ground up, to expand my palette, not just from sales, the niche that I felt really comfortable in, but learning a whole new industry. And it just seemed like an exciting opportunity, truthfully. And I said, you know what? Let's try it. Let's do it. And so I quit my job, and I came on board, and so that's how it started.
So this is, a huge opportunity for you and your sister Lauren, to stand out as one young women. You guys should say the youngest female minority cannabis operated business in the world. But so you guys are also minorities, and that just because women take 1/3 of the executive role in cannabis. If we go a little bit deeper into that, how many of them are actually minorities, which is another topic. So we have some work to do, and you guys are the trailblazers on the way to leading the way to making female minorities more known in the industry. So let's talk a little bit about Riverview Farms, and I'd love to hear what you guys represent, what your mission is, and tell me a little bit more about you guys.
Well, thank you so much for touching on some of those points. So, at Riverview Farms, not only do we have, two powerhouse young Hispanic leaders, myself and my sister Lauren, we employ over 75 to 85% of the female workforce. So almost all of our management, all the way down to laborers, are females. And that's not, we're not sexist or anything like that. We have just found the consistency, the drive, the workforce, being predominantly female, they give it 10 out of 10. Females are resilient, and, we come from an agricultural based community. And what I think, has become really, 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 really pertinent in the cannabis industry is, the other commodities, such as lettuce, wine grapes, artichokes, those are seasonal crops. So those are only here locally in the Salinas Valley about 6 months out of the year. Whereas cannabis, we're growing that 365 days a year. So we can offer them, the job security year round. So our laborers, our workforce, are incredible individuals who are not afraid of a challenge. These females do everything from harvest plants, buck plants, trim plants, hang trellis knitting. I mean, these women are total badasses. It's incredible what these women do, and just the amount of effort they put in to produce at such a high level is something I'm extremely proud of. When I first started this venture, originally I was trying to do so many things at once. I was trying to get us in compliance. I was building a sales team. I was doing my own in-house market research. We needed a finance department. We needed an accounting department. We needed account receivables, account payables. We needed so many different elements. And I was trying to really be structured and organized, where men sometimes lack that element. And so it became so much, for me to do on my own. And I knew I couldn't do it on my own. So when my sister, she was local, she was in college, she was a young, bright individual, chip off the old block. And she had interest, I pulled her right away. And I thought, if you can trust anyone, you can trust your family, you can trust your sister.
We hope.
So, when she came on board, it was a huge relief to me. She, had interned with me before at Church Brothers in the ag community, in the sales department, and she seemed to have a real niche for it. And so it worked out great. I said, hey, if you could start helping me out with some retail clients, I would really appreciate that. And so before you know it, her drive and her work ethic, she took retail and tripled it. In about a year's time, we tried several sales reps, and excuse me, I lost an earbud.
No worries.
We tried sales reps, we tried discussions with various distribution companies, but we found that between the two of us, we could pretty much do anything, tag teaming it and getting the job done together. So, it was a huge relief, when I was able to have some support from her, another, family friend who has been, helped my parents, through numerous businesses. She came on board to originally just help with some housekeeping, filing, things like that. And before you know it, she was teaching me top down, what it takes to build an accounting department. But having females that I really looked up to and respected, finding people that I could get more knowledge from. You're always learning from people around you that are smarter, right? And so a lot of those people were women. And so, having a female workforce, the lady that at our farm who manages the labor, Cecilia, I mean, the way that she is able to, split our labor we can have 100 tasks going on at the farm in one specific day. And she, takes what we have every single day and she makes it work. She's sending 10 to propagation. She'll get trimmers for me. She will have, X amount of people, helping, doing a transplant, metric tagging. I mean, there's so many functions going on that, we need women to help us multitask and keep us operational. Our metric department, 2 females, they're absolutely badass. They are so efficient. For a farm our size, most companies have a metric team of 10, 12 ladies or gentlemen. We have 2 badass, people managing it and shifting it out to the workflow, and they're able to get it done. So, now that I think about it, just all of our various department heads that are females are just total badasses. They're just very, very, very organized, driven, and they do what it takes to get the job done.
I love to hear that. Did you see that in traditional ag as well?
No. So in ag, it was kind of interesting. I was really young. I think I joined Church Brothers, a year or 2 out of college. And I started as an administrative, assistant. I was a sales assistant, for Cisco, for that large account. And I would say the sales floor was about 60% males and maybe 40% females. But a lot of us were assistants or, maybe on some of the lower tier accounts, which wasn't a bad thing. It's just, that's how it was. And when one of the Cisco, account leads left to another business, I assumed they were going to fulfill my position with someone more seasoned. Right. And my boss pulled me in and said, "Hey, I see a lot of potential in you. I'm going to give you a shot. You're going to run the desk." And I had been there like 6 months and I was like, "I don't think I'm ready for this." And he's like, "It's sink or swim. You got to push you at the deep end of the pool and see how you do." And I'm so thankful that he did that because, here I was like in my 20s. I'm sure they were less than thrilled. Here they've got this brand new girl, 6 months, green, taking over as their, senior account rep, right? And there's only a handful of other women in the sales floor, at the time that are managing these key accounts. There was another lady that was handling their U.S. Foods business. So it was interesting. Their key accounts were managed by women, like big volume accounts. But a majority of the business, was handled by males. All of my bosses, from my boss all the way up, were all males. So I wasn't really used to in the agricultural, there's still a lot of work to be done, in terms of where the agricultural space is, as it with any industry. I'm not just saying specific to ag, but there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of having a little bit more female leadership and representation, not just on the sales desk, just in leadership altogether.
I think the cannabis industry can take the lead in that and show everybody else, all these other industries that have been around for centuries, how to manage it with females and women. Men are great too. There's certain skill sets. There's just a natural niche that women have, vice versa with men. There's a natural niche that they have. They're strong. Muscles are always good for the heavy lifting. Is the way I look at it.
Exactly.
So how many people does Riverview Farms employ right now?
So right now, if I had to guess, we're probably right around a 75 employee cap right now. We're still kind of in the winter season, so our busy time is really spring and summer. And during that time frame, we really try to manage labor as best as possible because can be one of our largest expenses. But I would say, on the peak season, 100 to 125 is kind of our cap, and then, during our slower season, about anywhere between 50 and 75 to make sure that the workflow is consistent and we're able to manage our tasks efficiently with the amount of people that we have.
When you say peak season, is that meaning like retail peak seasons and demand, or is there, I know the answer, but for our listeners, what is a peak season for a cultivation facility?
So for us, especially, in a greenhouse format, our peak season is really, Easter through Thanksgiving, I would say. I think we see a big upswing, a big tick upwards in the market during that time frame. We have a lot more production. We're able to turn around crops every 2 weeks. So we harvest, we buck, we trim, we process, all very, very, very quickly. We have, our cultivation rooms range from, 45,000 to about 65,000 square feet a room. So our crew will go in, they'll harvest the entire room all in one day. From there, then we will hang dry it, we will buck it, we will trim it. We have those put into our retail packages. We have 2 lines that we take direct to market. And we have our own internal distribution, going to, over 100 local dispensaries here in the state of California. So during that peak season is when we see those orders just rolling in. I mean, as quickly as we're harvesting those crops, the product's already sold.
Wow. Yeah. So then you're coming up on peak season. Are you guys currently hiring?
Yeah, we're getting really close. Our company is always growing. It's always evolving. It's always expanding. Right. So, we are always, my dad's actually taught me this. He says, we're always fishing, right? You never want to say you're not hiring, right? Because you don't want to miss out on a great opportunity, but you're always looking for the right people to make your business better, right? So if that's the way I can answer your question, we're always fishing. We're always looking for strong talent and ways to make our operation better, things that can possibly be missed, or something that, when you're living and breathing in it every single day, and you have a fresh perspective come in every once in a while, you see something greatly improve.
Absolutely agree with that. And because we're constantly scaling and growing as an industry, you're always going to be hiring. So it's almost a silly question for me to ask, because if you're scaling, you're hiring most likely. So let's shift gears a little bit. I want to find out more about you and your role in the industry, and what the industry has taught you. What is something you learned almost right away by working in the industry compared to working in other industries?
So one thing that I've learned, I think, like straight off the bat is, there's no door that cannot be knocked down with persistence. And what I mean by that is, when I first got to Riverview Farms, we had 0 customers. We had a 0 customer base. I was set to go out there, find us both retail as well as bulk commodity style customers, because we are a very, very large grow operation. And so I need to make sure that 365 days a year, there's a customer for my finished goods, right? That's cash flow is the lifeline of any business. So when I first arrived at Riverview Farms, I really didn't have a contact list. I didn't have a Rolodex of people just ready to buy, as I did at Church Brothers. When I was in ag, Cisco was my customer, and it was all established business, and there were contracts in place that every single week they were going to buy X from me. When I got to Riverview, that was not there. I had to build that, right? So I was thinking to myself, okay, well, there's 2 avenues, right? We are a large volume supplier. Not everything is going to be able to be sold yet through my brand. We're very close now. But at the time, I needed to find clients that were going to generate sales as quickly as possible. So, now key names in the industry here in California, some of them like Kiva, Stizzy, there's a lot of big name players that I was determined. I was really hungry to meet them and find out who were their owners, who were their people in charge of procurement. What did their, supply chain look like? Did they need someone like me to fill a void that they possibly had not met? So I was really persistent. I started by just looking up on weed maps, what were the big brands out there? Who was everybody buying? What were the big names? And then from there, if it started with just calling their phone number on their website, if it was just a general email, 99% of the time I would get blown off, right? I wouldn't even get a response, or people wouldn't call me back. So then I started, going to networking events such as, MJ BizCon, or anything that I saw locally here in California that was a cannabis event, when they first had the Hall of Flowers. I went just out of curiosity. I had a stack of business cards and I really didn't know what I was supposed to expect, but I was just ready to network. And I think that was the major player is, if I saw someone, let's just say in a Stizzy shirt, I would walk up to them and introduce myself and say, "Hi, my name's Michelle Hackett. I've seen your brand all over and I'm really interested in getting in touch, with your upper management, with your procurement. I have a large farm and I would carry my brochures around. I made these brochures. We're really known for this panoramic image of our farm that's really beautiful. It shows the scale of what we do. And I think it's a really great call to action. I was like, okay, if I show them this image of my farm, they're going to know I'm a big player, or that, I'm going to be able to produce a lot of weed for them. So that's how it kind of started. I just started meeting people, and before you know it, I have the owners of Kiva at my farm. That was a great relationship. They bought from me for a very long time. They introduced me to colleagues and opportunities. They even had me do one of their videos about, that we were one of their suppliers. So they did some brand marketing with me. And then, my big one was when I met the owner of Stizzy, who's to this day a very, very good friend of mine. I wanted to meet them so bad. They were like the hottest name in weed for such a long time. And I didn't even think these people existed. I was like, I'm going to find out who they are and what they need. And I'm going to see if I can supply them. And so long story short is, it felt like it was really important to very quickly network and just allow myself to not be intimidated or afraid, or just because I was the new kid in town. It's like I had to knock on doors and I had to face probably a lot of rejection, a lot of no's, a lot of no responses. But over time, it started to pay off, and I'm actually thankful for that experience.
Well, it sounds like a lot of work you have put in, but you definitely put on your thinking cap and put the puzzle pieces together that makes sense. This industry, I don't want to say it's easy to understand, but if you put the puzzle pieces together, it all makes sense, and you can really align with what you want to do if you want to differentiate different than everybody else. But connecting those dots is really important, especially the beginning of an emerging market. You can learn so much by just paying attention. And it sounds like that's what you were doing. And great job on building those relationships that continued on to other relationships. I find that. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, and I really learned that skill set from my dad. He was always hustling, kind of squeezing his way into other local farms, or when he found out, I went to Hall of Flowers, he's like, next time invite me, or, let's go together. And we would tag team it. We'd split up and we'd see whose cards we came back. And he always brought it back to me. Like, he knew that I would be the person to be persistent and reach out and follow up with them and get an appointment and make sure that they're coming down to the farm, or I'm going to their facility. And so at first it was kind of like a divide and conquer. We were both out there just hustling our story, hustling our brand, trying to say like, hey, and that was kind of always our call to fame. Like, come out to our farm, like come and see what we do. And once people see it, it puts it into perspective for them. Yeah.
So you guys were like a Mario and Luigi team there then for a while.
Yeah, there at first we were dividing and conquering, definitely. I mean, he is very much, the innovator, the thinker, boots on the ground. How are we gonna get this operational? We've always been self-funded. We've never taken in any investor capital, which I know is a hot topic in the cannabis industry. So, we put our family's livelihood into this business. So failure is not an option for us. And so it's like, how can we, I don't know what the proper phrase is, but, how can we maximize our output? How can we save every penny? How can we, get as much production possible? We're always looking for ways to improve, because like I said, failure is just not an option for us.
Definitely not if you're your entire family's real estate essentially is on the line. That's everybody's retirement and then some with the family as well. And real estate is definitely a market that you can learn a lot from in cannabis as well. Just the networking aspect of things and how important it is to harness those relationships that you make along the way, no matter who they are.
Yeah.
So this can be a tough question for some people to answer, also, mostly because we try to stay positive in this industry. But I always like to make sure there's reality too to someone who wants to get into the industry.
Right.
What's been your biggest challenge with being in the cannabis industry as a female and a minority? You know, I believe there could be stigmas to, you know, your nationality, you're Hispanic. So, you know, it's not perceived as doing the right thing necessarily in
Right.
your culture. So what, where was I going? How was I phrasing that question? What would be some advice that you would give to someone, another female minority who wants a career in cannabis?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a couple things, right? I mean, so first and foremost, I mean, I think being true to who you are, you know, I now, you know, have been able to learn so much, just not about this plant, but that there are very little differentiation from what I was doing in agriculture to what I'm doing now, right? I mean, we're selling a commodity. That's what we're doing. Yes, it's a high ticketed, you know, commodity, and of course it is different, you know, than lettuce or wine grapes or what have you. But you know, I think at the end of the day, you know, we take a lot of pride in what we do, right? We take a lot of pride in offering, you know, California compliant, tested, you know, basically an organic product from seed to sale. That's what we offer to our consumers. And so when I put it out to market, I'm proud. I'm proud of the product that we are shipping, you know, across the state. And I think the number one thing for me was, you know, if I can make my mom proud, if I can make my family proud, that's enough for me, right? I mean, I think at the end of the day, you know, I had to kind of put my faith in that this is going to work out, and we're gonna succeed. And you know, we've just overcome so many obstacles, and we've just made the business better and better year after year. And it's so exciting to see where the business is now. And I sometimes feel like we're still just at the beginning. So, you know, that like hunger that we all have to continuously make it better is how I know that we're doing the right thing and that things are gonna work out per se. Because we're very, very, very passionate about what we do, and to see, you know, such positive a change, you know, coming from even just the legalization. I mean, the stories that I've heard from, you know, various consumers to store buyers or from other people in the industry, why they're in this industry, what got them there has been fascinating to me. And, you know, people use cannabis for a wide range of reasons, and whatever the reason may be, you know, I think that we need to normalize it a little bit more similarly to the way that we normalize alcohol consumption in the United States, because I think that will give a mass majority of you know, males, females, whatever minority you are. I think it will allow everyone to breathe when it's you know, federally legal, federally regulated. You know, if anything, it's going to bring the standards of the industry even further up, because, you know, FDA doesn't mess around. So, you know, the cleanliness, all the things that we put into practice already will probably just be elevated. And, you know, I think everyone should have access to the medicine that they need, right? Whatever, you know, whatever means that they choose to, you know, participate, you know, whether it's elderly, whether it's people with, you know, eating disorders, you know, whether it's anxiety driven, whether it's for recreation, if you just enjoy it, there is absolutely nothing wrong. We don't get that same guilt or pressure from having a margarita or from having a glass of wine. So, you know, my hope is that will kind of, you know, change it and normalize things, you know, a little bit more so. But, you know, on a different aspect, you know, going back a little bit to the challenges, I will say, outside of just being a female minority, and I don't know that it plays a big role into this specifically, but, you know, being in the state of California, each county had, you know, the option to vote it as, you know, wanting it in their community or not wanting it into their community. And Monterey County has been challenging. I think that's a very generous word. Monterey County has been very challenging as a local jurisdiction to work with. And the mentality of, trying to catch licensed operators doing wrong or doing bad. I've never worked in another county, so I can't say what it's like across the state, but a common thread for Monterey County is, we really struggle as cultivators. I'm on the board of a local organization called MCCIA, which is the Monterey County Cannabis Industry Association. And I help lead the cultivation committee. And so we get together as cultivators and we discuss the various things going on at our cultivation sites and, the failures, the wins, what's working, what's not working. We do have a very good camaraderie as local growers, but what we all really struggle against is how Monterey County chooses to work with us cultivators. So that's something I'd like to see improve, over time is, I know that a lot of the people that are running these programs, for example, Regional Fire, RMA, which is the building code enforcement, there's various, so you're not just, reporting to the state. And I think that's where a lot of people could use to educate themselves before they get into the cannabis space. And this goes for everybody, males or females. When you're going to get into the cannabis space, you really want to know the rules and regulations, the best of your ability. You want to know the status of the business you're going to be working for. Are they in good standing with the state? Are they in good standing with the county? What does their cash flow look like? There's a number of things that seem silly and seem common sense, but you got to do your research. You really do.
And you don't know what you don't know. So participating with various groups and associations locally and nationally is, I think, really important to new people getting into the industry. Absolutely. Very, very, very beneficial. And, people don't realize, for example, like our local Monterey County has a standing cannabis committee that anybody can listen in. If you want the information, it's there and you can participate. But if you're working for, let's just say, a cannabis company and we don't speak up about what's right and wrong and how things are being handled and how we're being treated as cannabis cultivators, like it or not, it is legal in the state of California. And like it or not, cannabis is the number one, revenue commodity now in the Salinas Valley. So I think just some mutual respect is something that I'd like to see happen, not just for Riverview Farms, but for cultivators as a whole in Monterey County. Well said. Well said. Well, so how can Riverview Farms be reached? Social media? What's the best way?
Yes, absolutely. So Riverview Farms has an incredible website that we just gave a facelift to about a year ago, and that's www.growwithrvf.com. RVF standing for Riverview Farms, obviously. So that's a great way to learn more about us. There's a contact us page if you are a dispensary or distributor in the state of California, or heaven forbid, you're just wanting to reach out and get a swag bag. There's an area to email us there. Also, we have an Instagram as well as a Facebook and Twitter, which is Riverview Farms with an underscore at the beginning. So underscore, all one word, Riverview Farms. You can follow us there as well. I am very active on our Instagram, so I like to peruse on there every couple of days and see all the comments. And we have a lot of fun shout outs. I love to see our consumers, in the marketplace, buying their products or consuming their products or wearing our swag. So I definitely encourage everybody to reach out to us on social media or through our website, because I would love to hear from you.
That would be awesome. And if they're interested in a career potentially with you guys, could they also submit a resume on the contact us form?
Absolutely. Yeah. The contact form is for any and all forms of outreach. So anything is always appreciated. I love the dialogue that I get from consumers to, users, people that have tried our products, various companies that we've worked with. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been a great interview, getting to know you and Riverview Farms, and tell your sister Lauren hello. Maybe we'll have you guys back on again and have you both on. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Let's make the next one in person once COVID settles down a little bit.
We would love that.
You're not too far from our office. We're in Corona, California. So I would love to come out and maybe do an on-site interview with you both, and maybe your father to add him into it.
He's very charismatic. He's very fun.
That's good. I like fun. So, well, it's been great. I wish you well and good luck, and I'll chat with you soon.
Yes, thank you so much.
My thanks again to Michelle Hackett for being my guest on today's episode. You can follow our series Careers in Cannabis, as well as more great shows like this one at TRICHOMES.com. If you're a member of the cannabis community and you have a story you want to share, please reach out. You can reach the show by emailing careersincannabis@TRICHOMES.com. Please take a second to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. It really helps others to find the show. You can also join in the discussion with industry insiders by visiting TRICHOMES.com. For TRICHOMES.com, I'm Ashley Manning. Thank you for listening and be well.